My fourth item, once again, I'm going to bust somebody's, Mr. Yugas,
Still writing.
He's taking notes.
Still writing.
Uninterrupted.
I'm still concerned about the darn trees that are being cut over off of Point Circle Drive. I requested last month if I could get a tally of how many trees were supposed to be cut and how many were cut. I'd like to know that.
I do not have that answer.
I requested that last month. I think someone should look into that. Because the traffic planner down there, the tree planner, I do not see him on that property. I live right across the street there. I've been up some of the backyards. I don't see anybody like that. And I don't see anybody down where the trucks park and everything else. I don't see anybody who goes down there and say, this one, this one. And I thought it was at the very beginning, one of the tree planters had to be back there to tell them what trees to be cut.
Oh, isn't the County Conservation District have a hand in that for the
No,
DEP?
it's the forester of record is responsible for that.
I know, but can our inspectors ask that question, or do they have to go to the DEP?
We can ask the question, but the president of the Point Circle Association will not allow any of our people on the site unless they are escorted.
He's not a nice guy.
I don't mean to laugh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I will follow up.
See, I think Monroeville ought to do something to squash this somehow, some way. I've been at this for over a year, year and a half, and like I said,
You know that law that was passed.
I know that it was the state. I know he rode over the municipality, but there ought to be something that the municipality can do to hurt these people somehow, some way. And I think by keeping track of what they're doing, I see them, I hear them. I am right across. They're cutting trees down on a Sunday, and that's not right either. And I understand that this is something that we have no control over as far as but there ought to be something. Somebody ought to hurt them and financially pocket by upgrading what they only pay $87 a year in taxes for that 29 acres of property back there. Somebody ought to go to the downtown and find out how in the heck we can get them to pay more taxes. And the fact is, we should keep track. I don't know how many trees initially were supposed to be cut. And I understand they go for about $500 to $1,000, some of those trees. So, that's a lot of money. And I don't know if municipality is deriving anything out of the tax pocket from those people by doing, cutting those trees. For them selling the trees, they're making a heck of a lot of money. And I don't think the municipality is caring what kind of money are we getting in return for that. Do we get any?
They fall under earned income tax?
A business privilege tax for doing the work, the company doing the work in the municipality. That would be about the only thing. Earned income tax is paid where you live. But business privilege, there would be a business privilege tax, as nominal as it may be, for them doing work here in the municipality.
And like I said, I've talked to Mr. Ratcher here over the phone or at the office here and everything else, trying to find out a tax ID for them so that we can check on their taxes. We can't get that. I can't find out who's on the committee anymore because they got an attorney that's hiding all the information. This is a real rat race, and I don't think municipality is doing enough to come out and hit them over the head with it.
We're doing everything. We've done everything we can do, Robert, so you know, legally. That's all we can do.
Mr. Mayor, you did everything you could do before, but have you done anything since the state has done anything to you?
I'm not sure there's anything else we could do.
Well, shouldn't somebody look into that and find out?
No, we have looked into it, Bob. The state's really tied our hands with that. We have very limited enforcement. As you know, the County Conservation District and the DEP they have more enforcement powers than we do down there. So the municipality has very limited ability to regulate any of that because the state took it away from us with that legislation.
We really don't have any authority down there, do we?
No, our authority is limited to bonding streets.
That's it.
Things of that nature. Otherwise, we can't control, generally speaking, when they do it.
They take out a load of lumber every day. This has been going on for, I asked him about it a month ago, and that had been going on a month before that. So, that's a hell of a lot of trees. And I thought there was initially less than 400 initially. And I think they take out that in a couple of weeks.
If you remember, Robert, we didn't even want them to do that because
I
we were
know.
worried about the landslide.
Yeah, I remember the soil, sir. I've been here since 1997 going up against them. We had them beaten with the judge and everything till that agriculture lady for the state come out. Now, I don't know what the heck's going on, but I think somehow or some way we ought to get a count on the trees, find out what that forest planner has actually done, because I haven't seen hide nor hair, and I've been down there quite a bit, and
Let's do this here. Let Bob and Tim look into that, and then maybe get a hold of Tim, give him a little bit of time. I don't even know if we have a right to know how many trees they're allowed to cut. I don't know that.
Isn't this the case where we did have an ordinance and the Attorney General's office from the state sent us a giant ruling saying if you don't remove that?
Yeah, they were going to sue us. They were going to take us.
Yeah, we were going to get sued.
I'm up on all that, Ron. Like I said, it's just a question of something has to be done to stop them from cutting more and more. I have a neighbor who invited me up to his backyard to look at what they did behind him. You could never see the turnpike from where he was. You could never see the sky from where he was. And he lives just a few doors up the street from me. Now you can see both of them. I mean, it's absolutely devastating, the amount of trees that they're taking.
We may not be able to do
Let me ask this question, Mayor. Did the timbering company, did they have to submit a plan in order to cut these trees down?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but not to us.
They submitted one originally, Tom, back in 2010. But then when the Attorney General made us change the ordinance, they didn't have to submit anything new at that point in time. And a lot of what the ordinance talked about was doing select cuts on certain soils. You weren't allowed to do any cuts. All that has been eradicated. That's all gone. They're allowed to come in and clear cut a property.
Wow.
Right. So therefore,
It's bad.
the plan that they submitted, we have no access to
There's
today.
many parts of the original plan that are null and void as it relates to the new ordinance as per the Attorney General's decision.
So therefore, there's no plan on how many trees will be cut or are allowed to be cut.
Correct.
Okay.
But the forest planner had to initiate and come down there and make some kind of a plan for them to cut. And for them to be able, individuals are cutting back there on Sunday, because
Yeah, but
they're
no.
not down there, the Amish people who are doing the cutting and everything are not down there on Sundays. But some trees were being taken down on Sunday. Now, that's individuals. So they're in excess of what they're supposed to be doing. And one of my neighbors out across the street, they have dead trees just laying on the ground back there. It's just laying there because they weren't of good quality after they cut them down. I mean,
Bob, we'll call the County Conservation District and the DEP on behalf of you and the residents. We'll see what we can find out, and we'll communicate it to you.
and should we not be talking to people downtown for the assessment and getting that raised higher so that they have to pay some taxes?
We are not permitted to selectively point to properties for reassessment.
Who has to do that? Me?
Well, no, the county assessors do that, and they have to do it uniformly. They just can't come out here and reassess one property without some kind of a sale or other activity. They can only reassess it as part of a countywide reassessment. They can't even go and assess homes, and they can't go and assess 10 homes in Mount Lebanon without assessing all the other homes in Allegheny County. Very limited circumstances can they do that, when there's sales, things of that nature. So we are without the power to go to the county and say, hey, we think you should put a higher value on this property.
But didn't they, in essence, take it from a residential piece of property to a for-profit company?
Yes.
I don't think in the strict legal sense they've done that. I think in the practical sense they've done that. But strictly from a legal standpoint, they have not done that. Anybody can clear timber as long as you comply with the state regulations. You can clear timber off your property.
And the fact that you're doing it to sell it, that
It doesn't
play.
matter. Absolutely not, no. That's the whole...
We'll get back to you on that.
The whole impetus for the state legislation was that in the middle of the state where you drive down Turnpike, you see a lot of trees, a lot of wooded areas. Those people own hundreds and thousands of acres. Part of the asset that they own is that wood, those trees. They want to be able to freely timber them. The problem is you take that same law, and we've talked about this, and you take that law and put it somewhere like Monroeville where we all live pretty close to each other. Totally different impact.
Right.
But that's not what the state did. The state looked at the agricultural lobby and they passed that law. And it's had a bad impact on all of us.
I remember talking about that.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Would you provide me sometime, or send me, or whatever, a copy of, a letter, so that I can get for that lady in State Representative, Attorney General's office? I'd like to write her a letter and tell her what I think of her.
You want her address? I'll get it for you, Bob.
No, I know.
That much we can do.
Right.
I'll get her address for you.
Because I'm not,
You're my bud, Bob. I understand what you're saying, but you know what?
I tell you what,
Our hands really are tied, and you know that.
I'm very vindictive, guys. I really am. Nobody pushes
I
me
wouldn't say
to a
that
point.
publicly, Bob.
I'm telling you right now, I am very vindictive, and I will do everything in my power to contradict what they're doing. I have a neighbor who rides up or walks up and down the street, "Hi, Bob," and that's the president of this tree thing. Before it was SOB, now it's "Hi, Bob." I can't take that shit.
Okay, Bob.
I just have one question. Mayor,
Sir.
I have one question. The folks that are cutting down the trees on a Sunday, are they being cut down illegally? Are they poaching on the land?
I guess the problem is we don't know right now. Based on his report, we know that that's happening now. We don't know who those people are.
But even in the ordinance, there was time and date limitations, which I think were stricken also.
I thought they struck our whole ordinance down.
Yeah,
No, they left us with a couple of inconsequential
there was-
It was small.
When they were.
So we don't have any jurisdiction over that either?
I'll check, but I really think that part was stricken also.
Well, should they have a permit in order to cut those trees?
They got their permit. It's part of the property.
No, I'm sorry. The folks that are cutting them down over the weekend when the people...
If it's part of the land that has received the permit, that's up to the...
Well, don't they have to qualify somehow? I just couldn't go in there and cut trees down, could I?
Well, the Point Circle Association would have to tell us that they're trespassing. Maybe they gave them
Okay.
permission to go on there to cut the trees.
Okay. Well, maybe that's what we have to do, too.
Well, if I told you I thought was cutting the trees, it came from the area of Mr. Davis's house, backyard. I couldn't prove it, but like I said, that's the area it came from.
Mayor, we can't hear him.
No, we're good, Joe. Any other questions there, Thomas?
That's all.
Anybody
Thanks.
else have? There was a resident, okay.